Hello.
Good afternoon. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance first. So if I could have everybody stand up. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You can be seated. I want to introduce Ms. Casey Kinzer, Military Warrior Support Foundation's Executive Vice President. She'll be doing the invocation for us. Thank you.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we gather today to honor these remarkable men and women who have completed their journey through the Leadership4Life Academy. They have already served their country with bravery, dedication, and integrity. Now they step into new roles as leaders in their communities, businesses, and families. We thank you for the strength, wisdom, and perseverance they have shown throughout their time in this program. As they embark on the next chapter of their lives, we ask for your continued guidance and protection. Bless them with courage in the face of new challenges, wisdom in the decisions, and a spirit of service that remains unwavering. May their leadership inspire others and bring positive change wherever they go. Lord, we also extend our gratitude to the families, mentors, and instructors who have supported them along the way. Their love and encouragement have been vital in this journey. Let this ceremony be a celebration of the resilience, strength, and leadership within each of these graduates, and may their futures be filled with success, purpose, and fulfillment. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Oh, sorry.
No.
Jason moved.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and our L4L graduates. Congratulations on today. Today we gather to celebrate and honor the remarkable achievements of our graduates as they embark on a new chapter in their lives. It's been my privilege to know each and every one of these fine individuals, and I know what it took to get them to complete this great achievement in life. As I went through the program before, and as I watched them go through it, it was an amazing time. For the past 10 months, they've worked so hard to improve themselves as leaders in their own lives and leaders in their communities. They have welcomed learning and growth in their lives that has bettered them individually and collectively. The program consists of multiple virtual meetings. So twice a month we meet virtually, and every 3 months we meet in person. And as well as in-person meetings discussing leadership, individual understandings and goals, sharing, caring, and learning from each other, and forming bonds that will last a lifetime. As we go through the class, we share personal details, personal things, and we trust each other. And we form a bond that I've really enjoyed being a part of. During the training, we delved into many concepts such as we don't improve by simply living, we must be intentional about it. One must have a sense of direction, and to grow you must know yourself, your interests, and opportunities. Failing at something does not mean that you are a failure. It's a learning and growth opportunity. Let's give a round of applause to these wonderful people graduating from Leadership4Life. And now we're going to hear from each one of our graduates themselves. This is Eric. Eric lives in Virginia, and he's going to share with us his thoughts on Leadership4Life.
All right. Thanks, Jason. So when I started this course, I really didn't have, let me see my notes. I was pretty reclusive. I didn't talk to many people, very secluded just in general. No direction, no real tangible goals or immediate goals, no purpose. I didn't really know how to define purpose, which is like one of the first things to get into here, and which was super useful. It's not something that you really need a comprehensive, defined, set purpose before you start out on your journey. And I think that's part of what was holding me back a little bit too. So I did. I just finally started taking care of myself first. You got to start somewhere. My health. I'm training more regularly than I ever have before. Eating healthily. And that was step one, just taking care of myself. Like self-care. And then as far as like my purpose is for career, I thought of purpose being something like a set goal, like way in the future that I needed to know, and it's causing me so much stress and everything. But knowing that it's something that can change, can evolve over time, it just took a lot of the stress away, and I was able to actually like step foot out there and start making those changes. And for me personally, I love combat sports. It's something I've always had a passion for. I joined the infantry. I love like just that atmosphere, the people involved, and I've coached and cornered probably like 20 fights this year. I was supposed to have another one this month. It's not going to happen. I'm still going up there though because I've been networking like crazy and getting in touch with these different organizations. So I'm going to go up there, probably get in with MMA Institute. They have a fight team. I'm really excited about that. I want to be a part of it. And also there's an app that me and my buddies are working on, and it's called Unify, and it's going to have like all of the combat sports athletes, events, records, everything on there. It's super clean. It's something that I'm also really passionate about. I'm really excited to see where it'll go. Hopefully sometime next year we'll see kind of where it is. And I don't know. It's like, again, like I don't really know where I want to be probably even 10 years from now. But I know that I'm really enjoying the path that I'm on right now. And I know when I find my purpose, I'll be able to change course, whether to the left or the right, step back, whatever I need to do to make myself happy and fulfilled. So it's just been amazing.
Wow.
This is Michael, lives down in Mississippi, and he's going to share his thoughts.
All right, when I first started this program, I was in a pretty bad place. I isolated. I was always by myself. I was trying to keep the demons at bay. When Karen Phillips, my mentor, suggested to apply for this program, I did. When I first arrived, I was nervous on how this would go. But when I realized the vets here were joking like I used to do in the service, it put me at ease. Then we started reading the book and doing worksheets. I was relieved. It made sense to me. After the first weekend and listening to everyone, what they were doing in their life, going to school, having jobs, I realized I needed to get a job again. I looked at Indeed, and there were just college jobs or jobs for high schoolers. So second stop was Craigslist. So I called a rancher and went in for an interview that night and was hired. After that, I felt a lot better. I was doing something and making a little money while doing that. As I continued the course work, I realized, well, I could get a better job and continue to search for a more fulfilling job and more like a career. So that's what I'm continuing today, to look for more of a career instead of just a job to work as.
Awesome.
This is Victor. He's our Marine. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Let's start off with that. Because I can tell you one thing, and it's an absolute certainty, that we bail all the Army units out of all the tough stuff that comes
There we
off.
go.
So in recognition of that, I'm glad to be up here to be able to save you guys from whatever you're going to say up here. But no, seriously, on a very positive note, first and foremost, for you guys that are here, thank you for being here. Whatever your reason for being here, I'm taking it as direct support of my support, like what I need in life to be where I'm at today, because I'll echo what Mike said. Sorry, Michael. I'll echo what he said as far as how this foundation found me and how they can see me today. The growth that's happened is, somebody wrote it, I didn't find it, but I'm going to put it in my words. It's beyond any language that I speak or any other language that's found in this planet. It doesn't have a value to it. And I can't tell you how much it's meant to me to find people that are serving my community. Because what I've learned in this group, Leadership for Life, is that I'm going to take what that book's taught me, and I'm now going to continue serving other communities. The community I'm going into is kind of present. High school, right? Okay. Do we have another, right? So I'm going to be an educator. I want to be an educator. I've always found strength in words. They mean a lot, and it all depends on how you use them. And so with that capability, I hope that one day I'm going to make the difference that I wish was present for me when I really needed it at that young of an age. Because it all starts at the beginning. Okay? And so for me, when you guys found me broken, I have a shirt that I'm wearing underneath that I always wear to events like this. And it says, unbroken. What these folks here have done that were with me in the classroom is they've helped me become a better, a more whole person. I'm still not complete, still a little broken, but that's okay. Because across this path that I'm going to take, I'm going to continue to grow. Somebody else is going to add a little piece. Somebody else is going to add a little piece. And once I feel complete, I hope that at that point that I'm providing the same service for the people in front of me and around me in my community, that they can say that's a pillar I can look up to. And that I can say, I can stand behind that and be, we need to model that. We need to integrate it somewhere where it's going to help the next person, not just veterans, because I hope to really touch them. And I hope when I speak to you guys hear that the love I was missing for the longest time from my community, the veteran community, I have found again because of you guys and because this foundation got us together. So to you guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really hope we do stay in touch. It will be up to us. And like the book started, we have to be intentional about everything. And we want to have to be intentional. It's not just going to come to you. You have to look for it. You have to practice it. And you have to keep returning to it down the line somewhere. So to end the book, he said, what did he say? He said, I'm not going to put it exactly in his words, but the roundabout thing was come back to intentionality, use it, and the law of contribution, contribute to your community, and don't look for anything in return. It will come to you in one way, shape, or in one form, shape, or another. And he said, it doesn't. So you have to do something because then it doesn't matter how long you live for. So you have to always stay doing something. Doesn't matter how long you live for, because if you don't do anything, that doesn't matter. You're just you owe it to this community, to life, to do something with it and leave something behind. Someone will say you were successful. Hopefully someone will say that about me someday, and this is helping me to hopefully build that. So thank you again. Jason, you were a great mentor. Thank you for leading the course. And to everybody else that was here, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much.
This is Marty, and he's from, well, he lives in Washington State. I think you're from Idaho.
I'm from Idaho.
Idaho.
I'm from Idaho.
I love Idaho.
Casey, Tammy, Jason, and the rest of the Military Warrior staff, thank you very much for what you've done for us. This has been an incredible program to be able to go through, to be a participant in. And I think really what we've seen, what myself, what others have gone through is we grow up and we go through a purpose, and we think we have a purpose identified in our life. And for us, it was the military. And then you get done with the military, and then you sit back and you get out, and you're like, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with my life. And so you kind of spin. And so when this program was recommended to me, my wife recommended it to me, so thank you to my wife for coming and joining me today. Candace is back there. And then in discussions with some great friends of ours, Josh and Tammy LaValle, they really encouraged me to apply to this program. And so I did. I've been out of the military for a few years. I retired back in 2021. I have not participated in any of the resources. And I kind of separated myself, kind of like I think a lot of us have done, from the rest of the community. And then, I didn't even go on post for like 2 years. I was like, I am done. But the camaraderie that you have with fellow veterans is not like what you find in other business complexes. In the industries. They do exist, but it's not the same. Because of the blood, sweat, and tears that we all go through and what we've experienced, they're different than what you find out in the civilian market, right? And so this has been great to go through this book, to be purposeful in where we are going in our lives and to recreate ourselves at any point in time. We are the only thing in all of God's creation that can, at a drop of a hat, change who we are and become something more. And so we have an opportunity to be able to do all of those things, but it takes effort. All of us can pick up the book that we've got from John Maxwell and go through the book. Most people will take it, they'll read a few chapters, they'll write some notes down. They might put those notes, as I said earlier today, they'll take those notes, fold them up, put them in their back pocket, as my wife is notorious for catching me doing. But then we forget they're in the back pocket and we throw them through the washing machine and those notes are now gone, right? But going through a program like this with Leadership for Life and what the staff here at Military Warriors has done for all of us, and being purposeful, being intentional about that process and connecting with other veterans has been huge. To be able to connect, to be able to go through that, to be purposeful, be intentional, to be stretched, right? The law of the rubber band, being stretched. Without that purpose, we flounder, right? And the Bible talks about it, right? A man without vision shall perish. We have to have, human beings need a reason to get up in the morning to keep on going. Otherwise, we flounder. And when we flounder, we may not die physically, but we die emotionally, we die mentally. And so this has been an outstanding program to be able to go through. And thank you again to Military Warrior Support Foundation for allowing us to go through this, for pulling us together and giving us the resources and the team and the camaraderie that we can now tap into. It's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I hope that others can join in this because it's so worth it. So thank you again. Thank you, all of you.
Can I put you on the spot?
Sure, absolutely, Cam.
Can I ask you to share a little bit of your vision and like the
Oh,
others
absolutely.
have kind of shared a little bit of
So-
specifics?
Yes. So when I got out of the military, right, I totally stagnated. I didn't know where to go, right? I worked in manufacturing for a little while, and the company that I worked for, I was a production manager. The company that I worked for, in their infinite wisdom, they shut down operations in the States, and they moved operations down to Mexico, which is great for the Mexican people. It gives them a steady job, and it's a solid company, right? But I lost that job. And so I was like, okay, what can I do? So I looked at school. I started looking at, I took a couple classes, some calculus classes, some chemistry classes. Those are fun. And I was like, this is not what I want to do. I can do it, but it's not something I'm happy about. And so I enjoy brewing beer, right? I think that's a great hobby to have. It's like making cookies, but something you can drink, right? And so up where we're at, and my wife, for those who don't know, she is completely gluten intolerant and dairy intolerant. So she cannot have any of those things. And so as a result, if she wanted to drink beer, for example, the only place we have around us is a brewery called Ghostfish Brewery up in Seattle. But it's up in Seattle. We don't live right there. We can go there, but it's kind of a challenge. And Seattle's not the greatest place in the world. It's cool. So what I want to do is I want to open up a gluten-free brewery down south towards where we're at. There's not a whole lot of those in the United States, right? Most of them are for people that don't have those issues. And so I want to open up something like that. But we now have the ability to make beer that is non-alcoholic. So you can have an IPA or you can have a stout, and they can remove the alcohol completely out of it. So for those who don't want to drink, but still want that third place for people to go to and hang out, right? We always have there's three places in life: our home, our work, and then that third place that we go, where we connect with family and connect with friends and build relationships. And I want to build something like that so that those who don't drink but want to participate and go out with friends can, and then to be able to build a dedicated gluten-free brewery. So people who have, for example, celiac, they can actually participate in that if they want to. So that's what I would like to do. I think that would be great. We've all been to those breweries that are just a blast. You walk into and you're like, this has the ambiance, it has everything. That's what I want. I think that would be fun, a place for everyone to connect. So
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Stephanie. This is Stephanie. She lives up in Oklahoma. She's a wonderful person.
Thank you. All right, so when I first got the email or call, I really didn't know what to do or think, because that meant like I was gonna have to be around people. I mean, I was gonna have to talk. And so my goal was to be able to socialize, be able to get up in front of people and talk. And I've really came a long way, so I'm very thankful for the Leadership for Life program. I've been able to become an ambassador for another veteran nonprofit in Oklahoma. that I run events for, and bi-monthly, sometimes monthly. I've been able to help the Native veteran community back on my reservation, so I'm bringing in programs and resources to them that they can put to use. And I've been asked to speak at a Women's Tribal Summit, Veteran Summit this month, so I'm very excited to be able to get there and do that. So these guys have been great support. Everything I post, they're like, "Oh, I love this." You don't have to lie all the time. But
Tell them about the card.
the what? Oh. So my face is going to be on we call them light horsemen, which is the tribal police car on the reservation. It's going to be on the side of a tribal police car that is dedicated to veterans. I was also inducted into the Women's Tribal Veterans Museum. Without Jason, without you guys, without Military Warrior Support Foundation, it's just, this program is great, and I thank everybody.
So we do have one other graduate that wasn't able to be with us today. Her name was Maria Tola, and she's a sweet, wonderful person, and wish she could have been here. And just want to thank everybody for being here, and then also I'm blessed to have known each one of you. You're wonderful people, and I really enjoy getting to spend this time with y'all for the past 10 months. So this is Miss Casey. She's going to speak to everybody for a second.
I do have the honor of introducing our keynote speaker today, Mr. Sean Passmore. Sean is a longtime friend of our organization and a respected leader who has graciously agreed to share his knowledge and experience and insights with us. Sean served over 22 years in the United States Army before retiring in 2014 as a senior presidential communications officer, where he provided direct and personal support to the President of the United States. Post-military, Sean accepted positions at various corporations, including 5 years at USAA and the last 4 years at Wells Fargo. In each of these positions, he played a key role in developing corporate strategy around hiring and retaining veterans and military spouses. As the current head of Enterprise Military and Veteran Initiatives at Wells Fargo, Sean leads efforts on housing affordability, financial wellness, small business support, and career transition programs for the military community. He manages partnerships with key military and veteran-serving organizations, oversees military talent sourcing strategies, and directs a team of over 30 professionals dedicated to recruiting and supporting veterans in their career journeys at Wells Fargo. Sean exemplifies exactly what we aspire for our Leadership for Life graduates. He has transferred the skills and experience gained in the military into his civilian life, where he continues to serve and uplift his community. Please help me welcome my friend and your speaker today, Mr. Sean Passmore.
Thank you, Casey, and please pass my thanks to General Cisco and Ken and Kettle Sergeant Major, Big High. Hope he's doing well. I always love coming up and visiting you guys here. Thanks for the tour of the new spot. Congratulations to all of you. Not for finishing the program, but congratulations for starting the program. Right, we wore the uniform. Is always mission first. Our soldiers and Marines first, leaders eat last, that whole kind of thing, right? We learned selfless service. And so to put ourselves in a position where we're taking care of ourselves and making our own needs a priority, it's hard to do. And there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of veterans not doing that. And you guys made the decision to make yourself a priority, so you're to be congratulated on that. And congratulations on finishing the program. You know, when Ken reached out and said, hey, are you available to come by the headquarters on Friday, whatever today is, all I did was check my calendar, see if there was some white space, and I said, yes, absolutely. I didn't ask what we were doing. Didn't matter. We're great partners. Military Warrior Support Foundation is always there to answer the call, and so anytime I get a chance to answer the call, I said, I'm all in. I said, what are we doing? Leadership for Life. I'm like, great. What is that? And he said, we want you to come and speak. And I was like, oh, you're going to speak. I said, what are we speaking about? I want you to speak on leadership. I'm like, oh, I can't back out, right? I've already passed the point of no return. There's no backing out of this. I will tell you that I'm always hesitant to come and talk to veterans about leading other people, right? The first rule in public speaking is to know your audience. And I don't know any of you. I don't know when you served. I don't know where you served. I don't know in what capacities you led. I don't know who the military leaders were in your life that you looked up to. And so the last thing I want to do is come up here and talk to you about leading other people and telling you something you already know, telling you something that you might have heard from somebody else, or that anybody else could come up here and talk to you about. And the last thing I want to do is come spew cliches about what it takes to lead other people that you can read in the countless books that have been written on leadership. Not to disparage any leadership writers. Maxwell, who's talking about Maxwell? Mm-hmm. I mean, he's gifted, right? He just writes brilliant stuff. So I was writing some things, and I probably got halfway through it, just tore it up, threw it in the garbage. We got to start over. I recently flew back from Charlotte, and I spent the whole flight writing in my green notebook. You know the one. Yeah. Writing in my green notebook by hand. And then I get home, and then I type it, put it in a computer, and I print it out. And it's my story. I lived it. I tell the story quite a bit, and I wrote it, and I typed it, and I'm still gonna still have my crutch here because maybe my ADD's acting up, or I'm afraid I'm gonna miss one little point or one little bullet. But I wanted to share something unique, right? And I've spent a lot of time on a golf course with Ken, and somehow we always end up talking about like what I did in the Army, and he just scratches his head like, that's so crazy. You got to write a book one day, right? You got to tell your story. And I'm like, to me, it just seems normal because that's what I did, right? That's what I did for 22 years. But the more I talk to people, the more they're like, that's not normal, right? I didn't do any crazy superhero stuff, right? No lone survivor or any of that, right? I mean, I pretty normal service, but the path that I took was very unique, and so I want to share that with you. So we have a little bit of story time, if that's okay. I've not rehearsed it. I've not done it before. We could be here a long time. I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get through this. But I served 22 and a half years. That last half is important. I had 2 different enlisted MOSs, and I served 3 different branches within the Army as an officer. I retired as a major just about 10 years ago. I'm going to tell this story, and then we're going to stop. We're going to stop a few points along the way, and I want to share 4 leadership thoughts and 2 things. So 4 thoughts and 2 things, and we'll stop along the way along the story. But what's great about these leadership thoughts, they're not about leading other people. They're about leading yourself. And how I led myself. And what I learned in that journey and what I've leveraged since I got out. All right, so you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. We're going to start before I joined the Army, okay? According to my notes here, I was not a good student in high school. I think there's this thing that parents went through in the 50s through the 70s where they learned this phrase, he doesn't apply himself. So that was me. I mean, I was a smart kid, but I never read the books. I never did the homework. I'd sit in the class, half paying attention, and somehow max all the tests. I'm a good test taker, right? If I give myself credit for anything growing up was that I listened to the influential adults in my life, whether my parents or my grandparents, my scouting leaders. I was in scouts as a kid, and they all said you got to go to college. I didn't really know why. Didn't have a reason to go to college, but I knew I didn't want to find myself 5 or 10 years down the road going, man, I wish I would have listened to them. They were right the whole time. So I was smart enough, at least, to go to college, even though I didn't know why I was there. Didn't really have any reason to be there, no purpose. It wasn't driven at all. Mom and Dad didn't have money to pay for my school, so had to work 2 jobs, to pay my own way through school. I went to UNLV in the late 80s and early 90s when we were winning national basketball championships, so that was fun. I had fun. I pledged a fraternity, which was fun. I had a girlfriend, which was fun. I ditched a bunch of classes, and I spent 18 months working really, really, really hard to earn a 1.1 GPA. Yeah, 1.1, which is better than 1.0. And my girlfriend at the time, who was a year ahead of me, we actually went to high school together. She was great. 4.0 student, was focused on accounting and finance, and had a job as a bookkeeper in like one of the furniture stores in town. She was doing great. And she confronts me one day, and she's like, "Hey, this ain't working." She's like, "I'm going places, and I'm really not willing to have you drag me down like this." And she says, "Have you ever thought about joining an army?" I got so mad. I was like, "The army? The army's for losers." I teed that up for you. You gonna let it sit there?
I don't want to take your thunder. It's your story. The Army. Can't take everything away from the Army, can I?
No. I said, "The army's for losers." And she said, "Yeah. You should think about it." That's what you're doing. Yeah. You should think about it. I want to put a pin in that. There's a leadership thought in there, but I don't want to reveal it yet. We'll circle back. But this is an important part in the story, so I just want to put a pin in that. So what did I do? This is the beginning of my enlisted journey, right? So we go to the recruiter station. I didn't say no. I'm like, "Where's the recruiter? Help me out with that." Point me in the direction. So we go to the recruiter. I told you I was a good test taker. I studied that ASVAB like it was an LSAT. I would go into the library back when that was a thing and people would go to libraries. And I took practice test after practice test, and I went in, scored off the charts, 98 on the ASVAB, 127 GT, because I knew that would impact what options I had. And so when we went into the map station, they opened the book. What do you want to do? And so I knew that I wanted to do the minimum amount of number of years as I could do. I wanted a job that would give me a marketable skill in a trade that I could get out and have a profitable civilian career. And so I chose dental laboratory technician, right? I made false teeth, bridges, crowns, retainers, and the cool part in the military, any prosthetic above the neck is dental lab. Noses, eyes, ears, cheekbones, anything you can think of, which we saw a lot of, obviously, in the military. So I was a dental lab tech. I didn't go to the rifle range. We didn't go to the field. We didn't do PT. This was awesome. This Army stuff is easy. Long hair, scrubs, working with headphones on all day, just making jewelry. Carving in wax, invested in stone, polished up in metal. So I did that for 3 years. Get PCS orders to go to Germany. Guess what they don't do in Germany? A whole lot of dental lab work. They mail it all back to units like the one I just left at Fort Gordon, Georgia. So I learned a little bit more about the real Army. Convoys, field training, tents, generators, deployments. I went on a humanitarian mission to Africa. We provided dental care. When I say dental care, I mean we pulled teeth. That's all we did. We just pulled teeth. There was not much else you could do. Dentists came back with jars of teeth. I don't know why. I guess it gives them a sense of achievement, something to look at. But we pulled teeth, gave kids glasses, we're giving people immunizations, just any kind of treatment that we could provide. I was in Africa for a month doing that. And I saw people come out, like literally living in grass huts. And they were dressed in their finest clothes, waiting for us to show up. And I saw this lady, and she came out, and she was sweeping the front of her, outside of her hut. But it was just dirt. And she's like sweeping dirt off of dirt. And like, how does she know when to stop sweeping? But to see people who had nothing but take so much pride in what they had, right? So I think I learned a little bit about perspective in Africa. I got to go to Bosnia. As part of NATO's implementation forces, I-4, go to Bosnia, and we saw a lot of landmine injuries. But we'd see people in town sitting outside the coffee shops, just kick back, sipping coffee, and like behind them is just bullet-riddled walls and destroyed buildings. And again, here's some more perspective that I learned. And I'm slower to complain if I get a scuff in the leather seat of my car. So we do that. And I was really, really enjoying the Army, and I was good at it. I was getting promoted ahead of my peers. I made sergeant at this time, but I still had this idea that I'm going to get out. I had a 6-year enlistment. I want to get out. I'm going to start my own dental lab. That was my vision, right? you can run a dental lab in half of a one-car garage. It's pretty easy. And so I was, that's what I wanted to do. But because I had been out in the field unit for like 3 years, I had gotten farther and farther and farther from the trade. I was kind of losing my chops, losing touch with technology and new materials, and I would not have been competitive in the civilian world trying to start my own lab, having been out of the trade for like 3 years. So I said, okay, I need to, my plan of getting out after 6 is not really viable anymore. I'm gonna have to stay in. I need to get back to a clinical unit, I can get back in the lab, and then I'll get out. So I still have the same goal, same vision for myself. It was just gonna be delayed a little bit. The day my re-enlistment window opened up, I was all set to go talk to branch manager and get myself a re-enlistment option for this great, cool clinical assignment. And I get an email. They already put me on assignment. I'm going to Fort Campbell to another field unit. And I said, I can't do that. So I've got a choice. Well, I really didn't have a choice because I couldn't get out because I told you I just wasn't going to be competitive. So I had to stay in. But if I continued to stay in, it was only taking me further away from my goal. So I decided to change MOSs. Big career shift for me. I'm going to throw away this dream of being my own business owner and run a dental lab. I'm going to do something different. So I still thought in my head that I still want a marketable trade. I'm still going to get out, but I have this idea of I want to have a profitable civilian career, so I need a really good MOS. So what do you think I did? Guesses? No? Well, I did the natural thing, and I decided to be a Chinese linguist.
Oh, I would never have known that.
当然我会是中文，可是很久没说，所以差不多都听不懂，都看不懂。Yeah, so I got that going for me, which is nice if you've seen Caddyshack, right? So this is point number 2. I didn't tell you point number 1. We're going to circle back, but this is leading yourself thought number 2. And I'm going to read it so I don't mess it up, even though it's my own thought. And you can write it down if you want. Recognize when the path you are on will no longer take you where you want to go. Mm-hmm. Don't continue walking down the wrong path. When powers beyond your control negatively impact your journey, reassess your situation, plot a new journey. Right? You're not a hero for going down with the ship. You're the dummy who drowned because you didn't jump off the sinking ship. So that's what I did. So let me tell you about the Defense Language Institute. Most prestigious language institute in the world, beautifully situated on California's central coast in Monterey, California. And because I'm no dummy, I chose the hardest language you could possibly choose because I knew it would put me there the longest amount of time. 18 months I got to spend in Monterey, California. 40 hours a week of nothing but Chinese delivered by native Chinese speakers. 3 hours of homework every single night. We still had cassette tapes, so you'd like listen, and then you rewind 2 seconds, you listen, you rewind 2 seconds, so it was like blah, 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 blah. For 18 months, like just straight from the fire hose. Then another 6-month follow-on at Goodfellow Air Force Base to learn how to apply all of that global Chinese language and apply it for military purposes. We took in 4 years of college curriculum in that time. 4 years of college curriculum. After school, I get assigned to Hawaii. Like, you get all the best assignments. That's what you're thinking, right? You get all the best assignments. So I'm in Hawaii, like all these other suckers are at Fort Bragg, at Fort Hood. I'm in Hawaii, flip-flops and swimming trunks 365 days a year. And I absolutely hated my job. Hated it. Worst job I've ever had. Miserable. Just miserable. It was all about mission, which it usually is, right? But 8 hours. Nothing happened outside of these 8 hours then mission, which was headphones, listen to Chinese HF radio traffic, And then after mission, it was all the good NCO stuff. I had made staff sergeant by this time. And so I had soldiers take care of weapons maintenance, mask maintenance, PT, wait around and talk to the first sergeant. All of that happened outside the 8 hours. And so it was brutal. And I was like, I cannot do this anymore. In the Army or out of the Army. Like, this is just not something that's sustainable, not something I want to do. And I tried to do my due diligence. I tried to research the MOS, but it was so highly classified, I really couldn't find out a lot about what the day-to-day job was. But I learned, and I learned why they needed people to do it, because they couldn't keep people to do it. And so even going through that, I will tell you, I was unsure of what was going to happen, so I felt like I kind of needed a contingency, and so that I knew going through the Chinese language school, I would earn a lot of college credits. I actually got an associate's degree out of that, and so that would qualify me for officer candidate school, for OCS. If all things went wrong, that was my escape hatch. I'm like, I can just drop a packet if that's what I want to do. This brings up point number 3 in leading yourself. Again, I'm going to read it. It's pretty easy, because it also applies to leading other people, but it applies to leading yourself. Have a backup plan, right? Because you're all plotting journeys right now, right? So I encourage you to have a backup plan. And when you plot a journey, make sure that journey either opens other opportunities to pivot to, or you're building a couple escape hatches along the way, right? As you're going, like, you need a break glass in case of emergency here, you need a escape door here. Just make sure you're planning contingencies and backup plans in whatever journey you plot for yourselves. So that's what I did. I dropped my packet. That was the end of my career. 10 and a half years, I think, at that time. I mentioned I'd been promoted to staff sergeant, and I discovered not one, but 2 different ways to not create a profitable post-military civilian career at that point. I had reached really what I thought was the threshold of how long you get in service before you either get out or commit to staying in the whole way. I know people do get out at like 12, 14, 15 years for various reasons. For me, it didn't make sense. Like, if I'm in at this point, I've just got to go the whole way. So I kind of was at that threshold in my service, and I said, well, I'm going to retire, but I'm going to do it as an officer. All right, so I put in my packet. I get to go to OCS, and they branched me as what? Signal Corps officer. Right? I'm like, did they not look at all of my NCORs and see that, okay, I've been in the dental corps, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars you spent to teach me Chinese, but like, don't put him in MI, make him a signal guy. That seems like the thing to do. So here I am, Signal Corps. And so Signal Corps, if you don't know, it's comms and IT. It's AT&T on the battlefield. That's what it is. And so that's what I did as a lieutenant. And I went to the 11th Signal Brigade in Fort Huachuca, Arizona. And I get there, I'm like this brand new, excited butter bar second lieutenant, and just ready to go. And the brigade commander pulls me into his office. This is in 2003. And says, hey, my PAO is non-deployable. So I'm deploying you with me. You're going to be the brigade PAO. And I went to Kuwait on Valentine's Day, if I recall correctly. And I'm the PAO. So I spent the whole flight over trying to learn, what the hell's a PAO? Public Affairs Officer. What do I know about Public Affairs Officer? So we land in Kuwait, and my job was write and publish news articles for the in-theater newspapers and little magazines. What are they called? I don't know. Those things. Yeah. And I wrote, no, I forget. Journals, maybe. I don't know. And I would see, that's how good of a PO I am. I would write and publish articles to be published back in the newspapers back home in Arizona. I conducted media training for the soldiers in the brigade, because there's a lot of people interested in coming to Kuwait at the time, and they wanted to see the war and send it back home, and they stick a camera in a soldier's face, and you don't know what they're going to say. So I created training material for them. I did training for the senior officers on how to interact with the media. I hosted embedded media, both local, regional from Arizona and national media who wanted to come and experience the fight. And so that's what I did. And then you'll recall U.S. forces crossed the border in March of 2003. And so almost the summertime, we had backfilled with a proper PAO, and so I was able to get a platoon. And so I went to Baghdad, and I got to be a platoon leader, which was pretty cool. I didn't have to be a PAO anymore. Fast forwarding, again, check my notes. I don't want to tell you guys anything that's not right. What did I do then? Nothing exciting, it says. So I came home, redeployed. I redeployed back to Fort Huachuca, and I entered a program in the Army called Degree Completion Program. I don't know if you heard about this. At the time, you were able to get into OCS without a degree, but you had to have a certain amount of college credits, but you can't make captain. You can't make captain without a degree. Well, I didn't have a degree. I had a whole bunch of dental credits and some Chinese credits and some whatever other kind of PT credits, and I had to get a degree. And so I applied for this degree completion program, and I got in. So my job as a first lieutenant was to go to school full time. And because I was no dummy, I took classes at night, so I could play golf all day. And so I did. So I earned my degree, and I said, well, I'm a Signal Corps guy now, so I probably should get some type of technical degree. I got a bachelor's degree in management information systems, earned the degree, got promoted to captain, and then I got assigned to Fort Bliss in El Paso to support what? An air defense brigade. So now, the only thing I really knew about a missile was that I was pretty sure the pointy end was supposed to go towards the end. But here I am in an air defense brigade, and I'm the battalion S6, which is the battalion like CIO basically. And this was a really interesting time for the air defense community because they were trying to take the Patriot weapon system, which is the big trailer-mounted, like knock scuds out of the sky missiles, and the Avenger weapon system, which is the Humvee-mounted, little smaller missiles that like anti-aircraft type of stuff, and they're trying to combine them into the same unit and go from air defense artillery to air missile defense. Problem is, they don't communicate the same. And so here I am, the signal officer, and you've got this weapon system that is all based on line of sight. They've got a radar, but then they have a line of sight to communicate from battery to battery and battery back to the battalion. And then you've got this Avenger system that is all satellite based, like Blue Force Tracker stuff, if you saw that. I had to figure that out, and I get to do that, like me. I just learned what a missile was, and I'm going to solve this problem for the air defense community. So that was a really, really challenging time. Did well, and they selected me for command. But I had to wait a while because I was already a commander, so I went up to be the assistant battalion or brigade S6, right? So I'm up there on the brigade staff. The command vacates. I command the 286 Signal Company, which was the last mobile subscriber equipment, MSC. It's like this legacy comms equipment the Army was trying to get rid of. I get the last company of that, and so I had to deactivate that company. I commanded for 2 years, I think, which is a long time for a captain to command a company. And then I went up, I got promoted, I made major, and then I went up to the brigade. Same brigade, I did all these jobs. I got the brigade to be the brigade S6. Rewind just a little bit, when I was in command, I told you I was deactivating company. So I took about a platoon size element of my company and I sent them out to Fort Gordon to do some extended training with a different signal battalion that had more cutting edge equipment. Stuff that I knew my soldiers would see in the future after we deactivated, so I thought it was important to train them. So they'd been out there for some time, and I get my first sergeant and said, hey, Top, let's go visit our guys. They've been out there a few weeks, let's go see what they're up to. So we go out to Fort Gordon, and while we're doing that, I stop in to see, I promise you this is going somewhere. I stop in to see Colonel Tom Washer, who was, he was leading all the training at Fort Gordon, all the NCO Academy stuff, all the officer training. He was my battalion commander when we were deployed. So he promoted me from second to first lieutenant. He promoted me to captain when we got back home. And when I got promoted, he came to visit and he actually pinned major on me as well. So a really important person in my life. And so I go to see him, just see what's going on. And he's like, hey, what are you doing next? I said, what do you mean, what am I doing next? He's like, what are you doing next? I said, well, I don't really understand the question. I'm in the Army. I said, I'm going to wait for them to give me orders, and then I'm going to salute the flag and right face, and I'm going to forward march. Was whatever they tell me to do. And he's like, doesn't work like that anymore for you. Right? You're about to be a major. You need to be more proactive in your own career. And then he told me, he's like, you're in a really unique situation, because I'd spent 10 years on the NCO side, and I was probably, 16, 17 years at this point, I think. And he said, you're not staying. You're not going to compete for lieutenant colonel. You're not going to go command a battalion. You don't need to take whatever crappy job they're about to give you. You don't have to go be the battalion XO. You don't have to go be the battalion S3. Why don't you go lead the ROTC at Arizona State University or something, like have fun. And that was just the craziest advice I think I could ever hear. And so he's like, I tell you what, he opens his drawer, very top business card that he takes out. He's like, this is Command Sergeant Major Gerald Williams. He's in town. The Signal Corps Symposium is in town. So he's in town. Just give him a call and everything will be fine. I was like, I didn't know it wasn't fine. But he's like, just call him, everything will be fine. I'm like, I don't know why he's being so cryptic. I was like, well, who is this Sergeant Major Gerald Williams? Doesn't matter. Call him, everything will be fine. So let's circle back to that pen that I put when my girlfriend said what? I said Army's for losers. She think about it. When you're at a pivotal crossroad in life or in your career, and you're unsure what to do, put your ego in your pocket. Seek out advice from people you trust. Then, even if it doesn't make sense to you at the time, trust that they know more than you in this situation, in this moment. It might be a leap of faith, but it's not a blind leap of faith, and you should take it. So my girlfriend, who upset me by telling me I should join the Army, in 2.5 months, we'll celebrate our 33rd wedding anniversary. Right? It's a leap of faith, but it wasn't a blind leap of faith. So I'm standing in the colonel's office with this cryptic business card. But not even a business card, just has the guy's name and phone number on it. Doesn't say anything else. So what do you think I did? Hell yeah, I called him. I absolutely called him. I went straight back to the car. Didn't even leave the parking lot, really. I call the number, and I get, hello, not office of the such and such unit, Sergeant Major's office, no, hello. So I'm like, that's not what I was expecting. I was like, yeah, I'm calling for Sergeant Major Williams. Is this Sean? Yeah, Tom told me you were gonna call. Not, is this Captain Passmore, not Colonel Washer, didn't tell me. No, this Sean? Tom told me you were gonna call. Meet me at the regimental Sergeant Major's house tonight, dress casual. No time to chat, gotta go by. So I guess I got to figure out where the regimental Sergeant Major's house is, which isn't too hard on post. They're usually where they're supposed to be. Didn't tell me what time. Had to go to Ross, so buy some khakis and a polo, which you know is the officer's unofficial uniform outside of a regular uniform. So I go to Ross, I get my khakis and my polo, and I find my way to the regimental Sergeant Major's house around 6 p.m., 1800. I figure that's probably a good time to show up. It is a cul-de-sac, and so I get the phone, and I text the mystery number, hey, I'm here. Here I am. And out comes this gentleman, looks like a Sergeant Major to me. Hey, Sean, I'm Gerald. How's it going? Come on in. Sorry, that's how he's walking me through the regimental Sergeant Major's house, and I'm starting to see all these senior enlisted leaders that I served with. They were either, first sergeants, or even back when I was in Kuwait and Baghdad, like they were platoon sergeants. Now they're sergeants major. They walk through the house and they see me. And they're like, Gerald, you better get that guy. Better get that guy, Gerald. I still don't know what's going on. And so I'm talking to Sergeant Major Williams. He asked me a little bit about, what I do back at Fort Bliss. But we really mostly talked about family. Had 2 teenage boys. Talked about the 2 daughters that my wife and I had recently adopted in El Paso. I didn't really, I was afraid to ask him what he does. I figured if he wanted me to know, he would tell me. So we just talked for a little bit, maybe a half hour, 45 minutes, and then I left. Get back to Fort Bliss, didn't really think much about my conversation with Sergeant Major Williams. But 2 weeks later, I get an email. It says, congratulations, you've been nominated to take a position in White House Communications Agency. An organization I'd never heard of before. And so here I think I'm getting out. Apparently not. Apparently I'm going to go to the White House. So I get to WACA, as we called it, in 2010. They were concerned that I was going to hit my 20 years and get out, which is exactly what I wanted to do. And I said, well, what do you need from me? Like, what? It's an investment. It takes a really long time to get you trained and spun up. So we really need like no less than 4 years. I said, I'll give you 4 years. Right, so now I've extended again. Now I'm looking at 22, 23 years. My first assignment, I was a watch officer. Not at all glamorous. You know what a watch officer does? You sit around, we would do 24 or 48-hour shifts, monitor the network, where are our people, where's our equipment, where are the presidential successors at around the world. The colonel comes in the morning, we're like, hey boss, here's what did or didn't happen while you were sleeping. I did that for a year. I must have been pretty good at it, because they came to me and they asked me if I wanted to command again, which is not something I expected I would have a chance to do. I was a major. There were 3 presidential communication commands in the agency. One, they're all commanded by O5s. So a Navy commander commanded one, an Air Force lieutenant colonel commanded one, and an Army lieutenant colonel commanded one. And so he was leaving. There were Army lieutenant colonels in the agency. There were Army majors who were senior to me in the agency. But they asked me if I wanted to command. And so I felt not worthy, but prepared. I felt prepared, and I said, absolutely, let's do it. She never turned down command, by the way. So I got a chance to command at an 05 billet as an 04. And so I did that during the peak of the midterm. It was 2012, right? So midterm, so ton of travel. A lot of travel. Keeping up with the president, travel all around the world. And so now I'm starting to think, I've got 2 years left. I need to start planning my exit, right, from the military. I really felt strongly about I wanted to be a project manager. Decided to go get a master's degree in project management from a really good business school. Earned a project management certification, and it was hard, but it was manageable. Then they tap me on the shoulder and they say, hey, in your last year, we're going to pull you up to be a presidential response officer. We're going to take you out of command and put you as a presidential response officer, a pro. A pro, there's only 5. There's only 5 in the world. Right? There's 5 presidential response officers, and one of the 5 of us always has to be pretty much in arm's reach of the president. So if the president was here, I'm either in that hallway or sitting in the back row. One of the 5 of us always had to be there. So it was really, really rigorous travel requirements, and I'm trying to take this master's degree. And so it was challenging, to say the least. I would pull all-nighters in 2 or 3 nights, which my sleep disorder and PTSD helped with a little bit, to be honest. But I did that, and I came through, and so now we're at 2014, and I'm starting to transition out of the Army. And I feel like, while I've served for 22 and a half years, I really didn't have more than 2 or 3 years of experience in doing any one thing. So like, how am I going to market myself to the outside? But I was really focused on project management. I'm going to get project management. I'm going to get project management. I'm going to get project management. Couldn't get any traction. And so I'm talking to a retired colonel here at USAA, talking to him about my struggles. Can't get my phone to ring. He's asking about what I did in the White House. And he says, you know, you would probably be perfect for a job in our events and protocol team, supporting the CEO and the board of directors. And I said, well, yeah, never heard of it, but I think you're right. And so that's how I landed. That's how I landed at USAA 10 years ago. That's why I'm here in San Antonio. I was a director of enterprise events and protocol. And I did for the CEO at USA basically what I did for the president. And so, point number 4, on leading yourself. Don't be so focused on your plan and your path that you are unaware of and unprepared for the plans the universe puts in front of you. right? Between 2014, probably 6 months before I retired and now, so 10 and a half years, I am probably 0 for 50 on career moves that I deliberately planned and tried to make happen for myself. And I'm 6 for 6 on time somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, thought you might be interested in this. Maybe you should think about this. 0 for 50, 6 for 6. All right, so don't be so laser focused on the plan that you've plotted for yourself that you're unaware and unprepared for the opportunities that the universe puts in front of you. All right, so I've talked about 4 things that guided through my journey, 4 lessons in leading yourself. What I've not told you about are the 2 things that have gotten me through my post-military career, right? You guys have talked about some books. Do you know David Goggins?
Yep.
Do you use his book?
Yes, sir.
David Goggins, if you don't know, former Navy SEAL, motivational speaker, endurance athlete. He created or coined this idea of the cookie jar concept, cookie jar theorem. I don't know. It's cookies, and it's cookie jar, and it's about getting yourself through like periods of severe pain or anguish. And so I have a similar analogy. Mine's a rucksack. I think I invented it first. I don't know. But I have a rucksack analogy. And the analogy is that, you know, you go through military service and you go through life and you've got this rucksack on. And along the way, every time you achieve something, you hit a milestone, you fail, you suffer loss or hurt or despair, you have a victory, all of this goes into your rucksack. And you just carry it around with you. You don't know why you're carrying it, but it's yours and you carry it. And sometimes it's the first time you ran a mile without stopping. Set a personal record in a gym. And you got this thing and you can almost like hold it and you can see it. It's like real. And you put it in your rucksack. And then when you face times in your life of challenge or despair, anxiety, uncertainty, you don't know what to do, when everything in your mind and your body and your spirit is telling you to quit, you just reach in that rucksack and you pull that thing out and you look at it. And it reminds you that you can face whatever challenge or whatever demon that you're facing because you've done it before. It reminds you that you're a badass. And if you don't think you're a badass, you probably have done badass things. And every time you did, you put something in your rucksack. And so that it's a rucksack analogy. It's the same thing as the cookie jar. You reach in, you take out what you need. You refill yourself, you refill your cup, you find your motivation, and you move on. So I've got a lot of things in my rucksack. But the 2 that I've pulled out the most, number 1, anything. I mean, I literally can learn anything. I learned Chinese, that's insane. That's crazy. I learned how to code Cisco routers and set up LANs, and there was no click and drag. I'm like, it was code. I had to learn binary and like TCP/IP, and I read a book this thick. I don't think you're supposed to read it cover to cover. I read it cover to cover. And I learned how to do that. The mass amounts of knowledge that you have to cram into your brain to memory to support the president and to be a presidential communications officer, it's insane. The president's going to go overseas. I've got to memorize basically 140 different phone lines, where they get installed, who gets them, what type of phone line is it. I know every butt and every seat of every vehicle in the motorcade. I know every frequency and alternate frequency that the Secret Service has to use. It's all memory. You can't write it down. It's got to be in your brain. Mm-hmm. I can learn that stuff. I learned how I learn. If you don't know how you learn yet, you gotta learn how you learn. And then you can learn anything. I'm surrounded by people in corporate America at Wells Fargo that are so much smarter than me. I work in talent acquisition, and while I was playing Army for 22 years, these folks got amazing degrees from amazing schools and have been talent acquisition professionals for 3 decades. They sit around a table, let me tell you about imposter syndrome. Yeah, they're brilliant. But if I put my mind to it, I can learn anything, no matter how complex. So that's one thing I carry in my rucksack, and it gets me through. And the other one is I can do hard things, like getting my master's degree from the George Washington University, an elite business school. Like, what was I thinking? Like I should have done like Harvard of the West, the University of Phoenix or something, right? But I deliberately chose probably the hardest school and hardest program that I could find, while I'm serving the president in an environment that is extremely high tempo and zero fall. But I did that, and I mentioned the sleepless nights. I mean, literally, I'd come home from work, I'd have dinner, and my wife would say, "Hey, you come to bed?" I'm like, "No, I can't. I gotta finish this optimization model. I gotta finish this research paper. I gotta finish reviewing this journal article." Like whatever it was, I couldn't. And she'd get up at 6 in the morning. I was sitting at the same chair at the same table, hadn't moved all night. Put it away, go to work. I did that several days a week for like 2 years. I wanted to quit so many times, but I was like, I think this is a Navy SEAL mantra. Don't quit today, quit tomorrow, right? Don't quit every day. You know, you can quit tomorrow. Just don't quit today, you can quit tomorrow. I did that. I would get on the webpage and I would pull up the old, like George Washington University graduation videos from the year before. And just thousands of students on the National Mall in DC. George Washington is the only school that is allowed to have their graduation on the National Mall. It's beautiful. Washington Monument's in the background. Thousands of people in their caps and gowns. And I'm like, there's at least 400 idiots in this video. At least. Probably 600 lazy people in there. Like, if they can do it, I can do it. Right? Quit tomorrow. So I can do hard things. And I know that about myself. And so those are my 2 things. Look, you guys are all carrying stuff around in your rucksack. I know you are. Whether you got them in service, whether you picked them up this year in this program. If you don't know what they are, I'd encourage you to do some reflection. Right? Know what you're carrying around and know when you can pull it out and use it to get you through what you're facing. Right? I'll summarize. I don't know how long I've been up here. Probably too long. I apologize. So look, effectively leading yourself is just about 4 things. Right? Plot a course that leaves you as many doors open as possible. Never burn a bridge, never close a door. Embrace things beyond your control so that while they might cause you to change direction, they don't completely derail you. Develop traits and habits that allow others into your life and trust their guidance in times of uncertainty. And then lastly, did I get my pages out of order? Maybe. I can't leave y'all hanging like that. Cliffhanger. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm just going to make it up. You won't know the difference. Yeah. No, it's not. It's here. It is about the rucksack, though. Good job, Casey. You're listening. You're paying attention. Yeah. Leverage the things in your rucksack that help you persevere through the most challenging moments of your life. So, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for sharing your time with me. Congratulations on completing your program.
That's awesome. Thank you, Sean. We've worked together a long time, and a lot of that was new information, so that was really cool. A lot of really applicable stuff, I think, even for everybody here. And I think that was really, really cool. Thank you for sharing that. And now I'm going to bring up, again, your Leadership for Life facilitator, Jason Moon, and our Senior Vice President, Tammy LaValle, so they can hand out your certificates.
All right, so I'm gonna call up each graduate, and then Jason's gonna, I'm gonna give you your certificate, Jason's gonna shake your hand, and then everybody will just line up. Yeah, pose for a picture. All right.
Hands are sweaty, Jason.
I'll just start right here. Martin Lee. Eric Sabbath. Victor Gomez. Stephanie Moore. And Michael Dean. Let me start now.
Are we getting pinned? Are we getting
We're
pinned
getting
too?
pinned. There you go.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, let's make some.
Well, then we gotta scoot. We gotta stand sideways.
Like I tell my
You fit
kids,
everybody?
squeeze in like you like each other.
Hold your breath.
There you go. All right. There you go.
Standing
Oh,
ovation.
oh, oh, oh,
All
right, move.
pictures, hold on.
Okay, good.
oh.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks.
Now we're gonna do
It's upside down.
Nice.
well, congratulations.
Thanks, bud.
Good. I've enjoyed being with y'all this year, and look forward to hearing all the great stories that y'all are going to have from here on forward. So go forth and put the information you have acquired along the way to good use. Again, it's been my honor and privilege to work with you. It's not goodbye, it's just see you later.
There you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just wanted to say congratulations to each one of you. You've worked so hard and been so committed over the last 10 months and remained true to yourself in wanting to go down this leadership journey. And so I just encourage you to keep going, keep dreaming, keep putting forth that vision that you're wanting to accomplish. So congratulations. Stay in touch with us. I know we have agreements going. They're going to hold me to an alumni cohort group that we're going to implement going forward. And so I'm excited about that. So this group hold me accountable to that too, because this is for life, right? Leadership for life. It just continues. So awesome. So we have some treats in the back for everybody. So please hang around, talk to the graduates, and enjoy some refreshments.
Get your cookie.